everybody, especially to alumni for inviting me to this session that I'm sure that's going to be very successful considering the high level of the speakers that we will have later, and also because of the topics that we are going to talk about. As Maria has commented, the BIOMA Center is formed by two institutions, the Institute of Biodiversity and Environment and the Science Museum. In the case of the Institute, it was created 3 years ago with the goal of creating a multidisciplinary group of researchers capable of studying in a multidisciplinary way the different challenges that we have now with respect to our environment. And 3 are the main objectives of this institute. On the one hand, we want to address the key questions that we face in relation with our environment, the loss of biodiversity, air and soil pollution, changes in the soil use, etc. We also want to promote the communication between researchers and society that sometimes is difficult and is very, very important. And finally, we want to constitute a meeting point between the university and companies and institutions from public or private areas. Regarding the research areas of investigation, in BIOMA we have 4 research areas. One of them is the ecosystem monitoring and management that deals with the collection of data in order to know which is the status of ecosystems and also what will happen in the next future. The second research area is devoted to anthropogenic impacts, and it seeks to find which are the impacts of our activities on ecosystems, and then once we have identified these impacts, try to mitigate the impacts of human activities on ecosystems. The third research area is global change and biodiversity. It's extremely important together with the alteration of nitrogen cycle, and due to its importance we have decided to move this research area out of the previous one that is also produced by human activities because it has a real importance in nowadays. And finally, we have our 4th research area that is communication, and because we think that it's essential that we seek for different narrative forms to communicate what we research, what we find with our research to the society. Sometimes we fail in convincing people about the change in their behavior that they have to do in order to make cities more livable. Okay, a part of the research areas that we carry out within the Institute, we also participate, as Maria has mentioned, in the university's strategy 2025 about sustainability. And to do that, we have created a committee of sustainability that is composed by 12 people, 12 persons that are leading 12 research areas. All of them are interconnected and all of them have to do with sustainability. So we think that it's very important to link all these areas in order to adopt holistic answers to the problem of sustainability. And the next one, please. And this is very important in the case of cities. We are here in a meeting that has to do with cities, the future of cities. And London is an example of this. I think that is leading the sustainability in Europe because it has produced a lot of advances in relation with the actions that we have to perform in cities in order to improve sustainability. And cities are areas very interesting to create new advances, and to do that we need research. We need new ideas, and students are the best to do that. They are fresh minds and they can produce new ideas in order to face the problem of sustainability. The next one, please. And this is important. The next, please. This is important because, as we can see in this animation, the percentage of inhabitants in cities is going to increase very, very much in the next decades. In fact, it is calculated that by 2050, around 70% of population will be living in cities. That means that the environmental pressures will be very high, and then we have to adopt some measures to mitigate the impact of humans on cities. Next, please. And we have the opportunity to do this by implementing research activities within our campus. At the university, we have a campus of about 130 hectares. There are many, many students, so we can consider the campus like a small or a mini city. And then we have the idea to implement different activities, different research activities in the campus in order to see what happens in that space and then to replicate that research at different scales. And here we have the 15 activities that we have proposed for the next years. Some of them have to do with biodiversity, other ones with citizen science, where, for instance, forest bathing is about the immersion of people in forests in order to get benefits, health benefits, because it has been demonstrated that breathing the air and hearing the sounds within a forest improves your health. And at the university we have a forest, but we want to reforest the campus in order to increase the surface of trees. For instance, we want to deploy a network of air quality sensors to determine the amount of pollutants that students and professionals of the university breathe both indoor and outdoor. We want also to monitor the river, the quality of the river that crosses our campus. It's a small river, it's not the Thames, but we have the opportunity to deploy different sensors to determine the presence of invasive species or emergent pollutants. We also want to gather information from indoor of buildings in order to improve the use of energy, the use of water, the consumption of electricity, the generation of waste, etc. So we have a number of activities that will provide us a lot of information in order to digitize the campus. The next one, please. So we will have information about different things in the campus, about forests, about soils, about mobility, about the consumption of energy, about food. And finally, this database will be used to create what we call a digital twin, that you know perfectly now, that is a virtual representation of reality in order to apply some measurements with the computers that then, once we have tested its goodness, they will be applied in the campus of the university in order to improve its sustainability. A part of the Institute of Biodiversity, we have also the Museum of Science that we want to create a new building for it, an avant-garde museum with new technologies in order to fulfill three important objectives: investigate, communicate, and educate. I think that these three objectives are also in the core of the Institute of Biodiversity and Environment, are the same because we are working together. The researchers that work in the Institute are working also in the Museum of Science. The next, please. And thanks to the altruistic donation of institutions and of individual persons, we have now a museum with more than 1 million of museistic records. That's very important for a university. Indeed, we are the second museum in Spain in relation to the number of specimens that are recorded in the museum. That contains samples of plants, animals, fossils, rocks, minerals, etc. And we are also very proud because we have what we call the type series of specimens that are species of different organisms that have been identified for the first time in the university by our researchers. So we have the reference samples for other museums in the world so that they can compare the characteristics of these species, these new species, with others that they can find in other places. And this has been gathered for almost 50 years of experience. So behind this, there are a lot of people working in obtaining specimens, in maintaining the collection, and in the conservation process. And here we have some of the activities that are performed in the museum. For instance, this is an activity that is called Science on Wheels, where doctorants and students from the university go to the schools in order to bring the science to the little students. And, well, it seems that hot is very high here. Yes, yes. With these activities, we get to involve new people, new young people in the world of science, and they love very much this type of experience where we use fire and explosions and so on. But at the end, we explain this through different activities that are science. We also have students that come to our university to perform some practices. We organize summer campus for the little ones, but also for teachers, because they are interested in gathering information to improve their classes in the schools. We organize some cycles of conferences about topics of interest like climate change or about the COVID-19. For instance, here now we have the director of the Museum of Science, who is an expert in communication. And also we have visits to our museum, the old museum, where we can find some expositors that will be renewed in the new building. But well, we have here about 5% of the whole specimens that we have in our museum. Also, we have other activities that have to do with communication, especially for young people. The use of social media is very important, through internet, through YouTube, the social networks. And also we organize a very important event that has to do with scientific cinema that is called Love Me Crazy, that is becoming more and more important every year. We have almost 2,000 films every year from more than 100 countries. And we have to say that last year the winner of the festival was the My Octopus Teacher. Perhaps some of you have seen this film, but now it's in Netflix. And some months after winning the prize at the university, it was awarded with the Oscar to the best documentary. So that means that we have films of high quality within this festival. And we have seen that the use of these new technologies are extremely important for the diffusion and distribution of science. And we are also working with new technologies, for instance, with these glasses that allow us to show some specimens that we don't have in the museum, like dinosaurs. Well, we can go to the Natural History Museum and take one. But, well, we have now these new devices that are very interesting for young people. And finally, we have to say that to create a center of these characteristics, it's clear that we need money. And well, there are a lot of ways to collaborate with the university to support this center of research through donations and agreements, through chairs. For instance, we are signing a couple of chairs to do some research within the campus of the university, through contracts for research, development, and innovation, and also through sponsorship and patronage. And for those companies, for instance, that give money, that act as donators to this center, they can obtain also important tax deductions. That is attractive for them, because between 30 and 50% of the taxes can be deduced when they donate money for these activities. And that's all. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that we can talk during the network session. Okay? Thank you so much.
So just before we let you go and we get onto our rhythm, because we're going to have Brett up here first, right? Looking forward to that. One question that sprung out. So the research, the goals of it looked very impressive and ambitious. Mm-hmm. I'm looking here as you're talking about 2030 and how we're going to make a difference by 2030. Yeah. And I just wondered if you had a few words, just quickly, because we're going to, on the things that you achieve on campus in creating the prototype for a future, then you might try in a city. Is your intention to try and push that widely to many cities the instant you can prove something and be open and collaborative about it, right?
That's the idea, because we can apply new cutting-edge technologies, for instance, from companies even, and then we can test them before putting them on the market.
Right.
So the idea is to make very intensive research in the campus and then to replicate that at another scale.
It seems like you could be attracting visits from the mayors of many cities come to look what they can take back to there.
Yes,
right. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much.